What's going on? So YouTube, what's up? So there's been some much needed dialogue. Chuck D, legendary rapper, Public Enemy, was talking about what's going on in America, um, political, and also everything, economical, psychological, spiritual, racially, the whole nine. You know, I am a firm believer that the industry and Positive B wanted to shut down Chuck D and Public Enemy. That's why there's a strong push to always push NWA and others that over them. Now, the ironic thing is Chuck D and Ice Cube was cool because the Bomb Squad was on Ice Cube's first solo album. But there's been a concerted effort to push that NWA agenda more so than what Public Enemy was doing. Why is that? Because if you consider to dump it down and mask it down, that's what sells. Special Ed, the rapper, was talking about and said that NWA was one of the worst things that happened to hip hop. I'll say this: Ice Cube is one of the greatest artists ever solo, and you know about Dr. Dre's production. Easy was incredible as a producer. MC Ran, in another era, would have had a probably top 25 rap career because he could flow. And DJ Yellow was nice on the mics. They did their thing, but they did get overblown. It was really one big album. It was two albums and an EP, but there's no way they should have been able to tower over Public Enemy or have the same platform as Chuck D. There's just no way. But there is definitely a method to trying to downplay the messages that Public Enemy were about, and they took an aesthetic of it and tried to use that to pit against each other and did it in a way where it was kind of manipulated, but then it was more accessible because you danced to NWA and you didn't have to think as much. They did have a couple songs in there, but there was a different type of, it was a fight, but it was a different type of thing. The Public Enemy thing was making you take notice. Takes a million a nation, takes a nation to hold us down. When you Public Enemies records and what they meant, what they said, what they were conveying, it was done strategically. And I'm a firm believer that everything Chuck D said has come to be relevant. But you see how the state of hip hop has become. It's watered down. It's Crystal Light, Kool-Aid with no sugar and lots of or overflow of sugar, but more water. The flavor is gone. That's what they wanted. Kendrick Lamar has a pro-black aesthetic in so much of the stuff he does, but it's using that NWA blueprint, which kind of blurs it, as opposed to getting the PE aspect of it. Because one thing about PE, if they dissed you, but they weren't going to build a career out of a diss track. And that's the difference right there. That's the fine line. They don't teach the Chuck D forms of schooling in terms of enlightening and